morning. Hello. Hi. I hope everybody's well. Thanks for turning up. Yeah, it was going to be a premiere pre-record tonight, but then I realized I could get back from my gig in time to do it live, so I thought that was just more fun. It's more fun. I mean, it doesn't make much difference to you, really, I suppose, but for me, it's more fun. So, yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm decorated today. I had fun. I had a great outfit of black and red, and I had new red earrings. So I thought I'd make up, but now I'm in my pajamas because I got home and Mackie wouldn't stop jumping up at my tights. And also, I'm just, yeah, you can only have a waistband for so long, can't you? The frags pass on their apologies. Oh, you never have to apologize for not coming. Oh my goodness, no, please don't make this feel like a chore. If it's nice and you're awake, then by all means, let's read stories. But if not, I was a bit worried actually because I think it's quite a contemplative, however you pronounce that, contemplative chapter. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's like a staying up till midnight kind of one. But we're here now, so we might as well. Tell us about your tearing your heckler. Oh yeah, so I gigged tonight. I've gigged 2 nights the last couple of nights in Balham, the Bedford, and tonight in the interval just before I went on, this whole table pretty much got booted out because they were just snorting cocaine out of their palms in the pub, and it was like no. And then there, like 3 of them had been able to stay, and this one girl just wouldn't stop making her way in and out of the room during my set. And so I sort of snapped at her a little bit and got a little mini round of applause for being a bit of a bitch, to be honest, but I enjoyed it. And then there was a guy in the front row. Look, I got these cool postcards sent to me. They're little Plop Actually postcards. Isn't that fun? I got, yes, there was a guy in the front row who was very fun. He was a dentist that could afford to live in Balham at the age of 28 and was from Birmingham, but had a very posh accent. So I had some fun having a go at him, basically. So yeah, that's did I call her a stinky pervert? No, but I have been developing a new joke with the word pervert in it because I have been enjoying that lately. I'm sort of doing some material at the moment about body positivity and how I sort of hate body positivity because I think you should be allowed to be negative about your own body if you want to, and that people don't. Anyway, that the material is in development. But then I've also been sort of exploring sort of doing things, God, how do you say it? Like, I've been talking about Mackie on stage and getting a dog, and then doing a bit that I quite enjoy, where I sort of say like, oh, I got a dog in lockdown, like I've done all of the knobhead things, you know, that like I wrote a book in lockdown, I got a dog in lockdown, and then I do someone else's voice being all like, oh, did you rescue it? No, I didn't rescue it. I bought her with money like a pervert. And I've been quite enjoying that bit. I'm really enjoying it. Just like that sort of relief, you know, that sort of like, no, I wasn't a good person. No, I wasn't the best I could have absolutely been. I was selfish shit about it just for once. Oh, have you got, is Ivy the guinea pig or the rabbit? I think Ivy's a rabbit. Is that right, Ben? So yes, so I've had a lovely weekend. I've realised as well, I was a bit sort of like worried, I suppose, because it came out of lockdown and I didn't really feel like I'd written any new material because I'd been writing the book and doing these and doing all sorts of stuff. And so I was sort of like not worried about it because I was kind of like, oh, well, I know I've been creative. I won't worry about it. But my first couple of gigs, I was doing some old stuff. And then because I've been enjoying gigging and I tend to write on stage quite a lot, I've discovered I'm pretty much now just doing a brand new 20 minutes that is all developed since the end of lockdown, which is just really lovely. It's feeling really nice. Yeah, happy. And I got some good news about the tour today. It looks like we might be able to get a little bit of the cultural money fund. I think I can get some of that for my tour, which means that the tour can sort of go ahead socially distanced, which is nice. Yeah, without me losing quite as much money, because I wanted it to go ahead even if it was socially distanced and make any money, because we just got to get stuff going again. But actually, there's a way I think that we can part fund it so that that's really nice. So hopefully, as long as the venues stay open, the tour dates that have now been rescheduled for, I think they're sort of like February, March next year now. Hopefully they will be staying in, or at least from my perspective, they will be anyway, which is just really nice. It's really nice to know that I can go ahead with them, but not have them be like big money losses. Because I think that's the thing. Like, it's not just that you don't make any money from them, which is hard. And then obviously, like, that's a day where you could have earned money doing other gigs, which is hard. But also because of the driving and the hotels and the publicity and everything you really spent, you end up actually just sort of paying to perform. And I think that's where like all this live stuff is sort of messy, because you're going to end up with people that can afford to run at a loss because they have other means of income, and the people that do live off it solely are not going to be there. Is Brighton being rescheduled? I haven't heard anything about the Comedia being reopened yet. I know that they I think got some of the cultural money. They got some of the grant, I think, but I haven't heard that they've been rescheduled yet. I imagine it's been moved to the spring, but they might have like sort of done that as a placeholder in my diary and in sort of the Comedia's diary without announcing it, because there's just not that sure when things. No, I don't have it in my diary, but yeah, hopefully we shall see. Some annoying news, that thing that you remember, that TV thing that I went off and filmed that I was excited about, that we missed one for. They're bloody not using it. I'm cross. Stupid social distancing, but yeah. So that's all my news. I hope you guys have been well. I hope various rabbits and pets and dogs and things. Well, congratulations to the New Zealanders on having a decent government. Well done for voting wisely, you geniuses. Could you have a word with the rest of the world and see if you can get everybody else to follow suit? That would be great. Meanwhile, should we get some contemplative Tingians? Oh, you've got a hell of a vote, by the way, for the end of this. Whoa, you've got a hell of a vote. You guys are. Okay, chapter 31. Maureen couldn't get her head round the range of noises topside. They had been walking for so long her legs felt wobbly and weak. Her neck was twitchy from where she kept turning to try and spot little noises. Birds tweeting or invisible threats rustling were all around her, and no matter how much she tried to tell herself that the topsiders existed up here, happily and safely, she couldn't relax. There were 8 of them, trekking round the edges of the field and meeting with each of the 12 families. Maureen, Karan and Briar were joined by Ingo, Mulling, Joshish, Ezria and Sinfire. Maureen was walking with Karan at her side. She hadn't spoken to Briar since they had left the hedge, despite them trying their best to make amends and speak to her. She was tired, overwhelmingly tired, the sort of brain and body tired that made her wonder if she would ever fully recover. Even if she could get home and relax for a few days to mend her aching limbs, the world had now been blasted so wide open by everything she now knew that she didn't think she would ever be able to relax again. How could she go back to her trusting way of life, assuming everything would be okay and that she was generally safe? They had already met with 8 of the 12 families and met with no resistance at the idea of uniting to take on Van Weer. Sinfire seemed to know the leaders of each group intimately, and they were all struggling to adjusting to life without the security of the stones. Maureen could feel her stone, or the stone she had come to think of as hers, back again in physical form in her pocket. She felt guilty every time she looked at the topside Tingians, who clearly felt so personally possessive of the stones. It wasn't hers, really. Should she tell Sinfire she had it? Should she give it back? She knew she didn't want to. Maureen glanced over at Briar, wondering what they had told Sinfire about the stone. Had they mentioned to their mother that Ezria or Maureen had a stone? Had they realised that Maureen had lied to Asmar and she did have the stone? If they had said anything to anyone, then there had been no repercussions as yet. This was the kind of confusing mess she wasn't used to, Marine thought as she mutely greeted the next topside family and settled down for a greatly appreciated cup of root brew and a bite to eat. She barely listened as Sinfire began the same speech she had used at the last 8 meetings. Marine wasn't used to having so many complications jostling for space within her skull. Her physically exciting feelings for Briar seemed stubbornly unwilling to disappear, despite her mind being furious with them for everything they had put her through. But then her treacherous brain offered solutions for Briar's behaviour. They weren't in charge, were they? What choice did they have? Didn't Briar have an equal right to be angry at Marine for holding onto the stone when it clearly belonged topside and to a different way of life? She couldn't stop thinking about her parents below ground, locked up in some cell or other in Van Weer's offices. Her feet twitched occasionally as the impulse to make her way back to them and try to free them took over her muscles. Her mind would weigh in again, reminding her that she was attempting to free her parents by uniting the families and taking on Van Weer. It was all the same intentions, but just a different plan. Life had been simpler when she didn't have this many options. The meeting was over and she got up with the other Tingians, bowing politely in thanks for the hospitality and leaving the hedge gap to carry on with the walk. As she left the hedge and looked at the size of the world, she wondered if she would give this up to go back to having fewer options. She shook her head, giving in to that exhaustion again. Her hand dipped into her pocket and touched the stone. It felt warm and familiar against her skin. Koran came up behind her. "You okay?" he asked gently, and Marine was relieved at his presence. She glanced up at the back of Briar's head as they led the way. "Tired," she said. 3 to go, is that right?" "Yeah, not much more now." "Just back again afterwards," Marine laughed. "How does she know where to find them? I thought they moved around a lot," Koran asked, with mild curiosity in his voice. Marine paused. She didn't know. "Something to do with the stones?" she posited. "Maybe," Koran considered. "I wish we knew what they wanted with the stones." "What do you mean? They're theirs." Marine looked at Koran's worried face. "Well, yeah, but what are they for? Are the topsiders magic when the stones are all here? What if we deliver the stones back from Van Weer to them and then find ourselves invaded by topsiders?" "They never did that before when they had them." Marine felt a tingling of anticipation in her stomach. She wanted to talk to Ezria to see if she knew what the topsiders were capable of with all the stones. The final 3 meetings with the families went as smoothly as the first 9. Marine was almost a little disappointed that there wasn't some action, and then reminded herself how incredibly terrifying action had been any time she had encountered it so far. It wasn't the storytime excitement she had always felt when imagining it. She pictured the cold water of the river and the terrified look on Briar's face as Asma had held the knife up to their throat. As she thought of it, Briar turned to look over their shoulder and back at Marine from their position at the front of the party. Briar smiled sadly, and Marine couldn't stop herself smiling sadly back. There you go. Now, unfortunately, your no, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to. I feel mean. I've done a really mean one. Your question for Monday is: when they return to the hedge, is there a message? And it's a yes or no. And there are not enough lamb sound effects in the world to there's some consequences of your actions. So when they return to the hedge, is there a message? Your choice, and I'll see you Monday. Take care of yourselves. Have a lovely Sunday wherever you are in the world. And thanks. Oh, and as it's the end of the week, if you feel like bunging me some stuff in the coffee, then that would be a delight. But don't worry, if you're strapped for cash, that's fine. Take care of yourselves. Bye.